A dark montage. 4 identical doubles slowly turning their heads toward the camera, each from a different setting: bedroom, forest, mirror, workplace. Their eyes glow faintly, smiles unnatural, as the screen glitches with the words, "What if your double wants your life?" before cutting to black. Elena always thought she lived alone. Her apartment was small but cozy, with pale curtains and a quiet balcony overlooking the street. She loved silence. But one night, silence began to feel wrong. It started with a sound. She had just finished brushing her teeth when she heard footsteps moving across the living room floor. At first, she told herself it was the upstairs neighbor, but these footsteps were too close, too clear, like they were inside her home. She stepped out of the bathroom, holding her phone like a weapon. The living room was empty. Her books were still stacked neatly. The curtains swayed softly, though the windows were closed. Elena. Her name was whispered. Her heart froze. It wasn't from the street, nor from her phone. It came from her own bedroom. Slowly, she pushed the door open, and there she was. Sitting on the edge of the bed was herself. Same black hair, same blue pajamas, same frightened eyes. The other Elena smiled. Elena's mouth went dry. Who are you?" Her double tilted her head, like a mirror moving on its own. "I'm you. Don't you recognize me?" Elena backed away. This wasn't possible. Her chest tightened, panic rising in her throat. The other Elena stood. "You shouldn't be afraid. I'm only here because you called me." "I didn't," Elena snapped. "Yes, you did. Every time you stared into the mirror and wished life was different. Every time you hated yourself. Every lonely night you whispered, 'I wish there was another me to take this away.' I heard you, and now I'm here." Elena shook her head violently. No, this is a dream." Her double laughed softly, a sound too much like her own voice but wrong, too sharp, too mocking. "Dreams don't bleed." With that, she dug her nails into her own palm. Red drops spilled to the floor, the carpet stained. Elena gasped. "Stop!" she cried. But the other Elena only smiled wider. "I've come to take your place. You don't need this life anymore. You're tired. I can live it better." Elena's stomach twisted. She ran to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife she could find, and turned back. The living room was empty. Her bedroom was empty. Her reflection in the mirror, however, was not. It stared at her with that same cruel smile. While Elena trembled with the knife in her hand, her reflection raised a knife too. But Elena wasn't holding hers up. The reflection moved first. "No," Elena whispered. Her reflection pressed the blade against its throat. Blood trickled down the glass. Elena dropped the knife in horror, backing away, her chest tight with sobs. But when she blinked, the blood was gone. The mirror was clean. Her reflection still smiled. That night, Elena didn't sleep. She locked every door, every window, and sat in the corner of the living room with the lights on. Around 3 a.m., she dozed off. When she opened her eyes, she wasn't in the corner anymore. She was in bed. Someone had moved her. She sat up in terror and saw herself again, standing at the foot of the bed, grinning, eyes wide and wild. "You see?" the double whispered. "I told you I could live your life better. You were sleeping while I cleaned your mess. I made calls. I sent messages. People think I'm you already. Soon you won't even exist." Elena tried to scream, but her voice caught. Her double leaned closer. "Don't fight it. Just let go. When morning comes, only one of us will remain." The light flickered. Shadows bent across the room. And when Elena blinked again, the bed was empty. Only her laughter remained, her own voice echoing from everywhere at once. Elena clutched her face, trembling, whispering through broken sobs, "I don't know if I'm still me." Because deep down, she knew. Her doppelganger had already started to win. David worked late shifts at the hospital. He was used to coming home around midnight, tired and half asleep, dragging his feet into his quiet apartment. Most nights were the same: microwave dinner, a shower, and then bed. But one night, something strange caught his attention. As he parked his car outside his apartment, he looked up. On the 3rd floor, where his apartment was, someone was standing at his window. It was him. David froze, gripping the steering wheel. The figure in the window wore the same hospital scrubs he was wearing, the same messy brown hair, the same tired expression. For a long, horrible moment, David thought he was looking at his own reflection, except it was 3 stories up, and he was still in the car. The figure smiled at him. David's blood turned cold. He stumbled out of his car, rushing upstairs, his keys clattering in his hands. When he burst into his apartment, it was empty. No one at the window, no one inside. The air was still and silent. Trying to calm himself, David locked the door and whispered, "I'm just tired, just seeing things." But deep down, he knew it wasn't just his imagination. The next night, he saw it again. This time, the doppelganger wasn't standing. It was sitting at his dining table, hands folded neatly, staring out of the window as if waiting. David's chest tightened. He didn't go upstairs right away. He just sat in his car, watching it. The double turned its head slowly, locking eyes with him. It raised its hand and waved. David dropped his keys. He couldn't breathe. For 3 nights, the figure appeared, always at the window, always watching. By the 4th night, David couldn't take it anymore. He decided to confront it. He parked, gripped his flashlight, and stormed into the building. His footsteps echoed up the stairwell, his pulse thundering in his ears. When he shoved open the door to his apartment, he found the double standing in the middle of the living room, waiting. It was him, perfectly him, but its smile stretched too wide, too wrong. David shouted, "Who are you? What do you want?" The double tilted its head, the same way David often did when thinking. Its voice came out exactly like David's. "I am you. I live here now." David shook his head violently. "No, you're not real." The double stepped closer, bare feet silent on the floor. "You've been so tired, David. So lonely. You wanted someone to take your place. You called me." "I didn't!" David yelled, backing against the wall. "Yes, you did. Every night you whispered that you hated your life, that you wanted to vanish. I listened." David's hands trembled. He tried to run to the door, but the double was faster. It blocked his way, face inches from his own. "Go to sleep," it whispered. "When you wake up, I'll be the only one left." David shoved it aside and sprinted into the hallway. He didn't stop running until he was out of the building, gasping for air under the streetlights. He didn't go back that night. He slept in his car, every shadow outside making him jump. By morning, he forced himself to return, telling himself it had all been a dream. But when he unlocked the door, his world shattered. The apartment looked lived in, but not by him. Coffee cups he hadn't used sat on the counter. His clothes were washed and folded neatly, though he hadn't touched the laundry. And on the fridge was a note, written in his own handwriting. "I told you I'd take care of it. Rest now. Don't fight me anymore." David's hands shook so badly he dropped the note. He staggered to the mirror by the door. The reflection didn't move. It smiled. David screamed and smashed the mirror with his fist. But when he looked up, his reflection was still there, smiling back. And this time, it whispered with his voice, "Welcome home." Maria and Clara were twins, identical in every way. People often joked they were mirrors of each other. They dressed differently to avoid confusion. Maria liked bright colors, Clara preferred darker tones, but their faces were the same. They were close, but not inseparable. Maria was outgoing, always smiling, always surrounded by friends. Clara was quiet, reserved, and often stayed home. One night, Maria came home late from a party. She was humming as she unlocked the front door of the family house. The lights were off, but she assumed Clara was asleep. As Maria stepped into the hallway, she froze. Someone was already standing there, half hidden in the shadows. It was Clara. "Clara, you scared me." Maria laughed nervously. Clara didn't answer. She just stared at her with wide, unblinking eyes. Her head tilted slightly, like she didn't understand who was looking at her. "Clara, what's wrong?" Maria asked. Clara's lips curled into a smile, but it wasn't her usual shy smile. It was stretched too far, too sharp. Before Maria could speak again, the light flickered, and Clara was gone. The next morning, Maria told her sister about it over breakfast. Clara looked confused. "I was asleep all night," Clara said. "I didn't even hear you come in." Maria forced a laugh. "Maybe I was just drunk." But in her heart, she knew she had been sober enough to tell the difference. That week, strange things continued to happen. One of Maria's friends swore they saw her in town at noon, though Maria had been at work. Another said she ignored them completely on the street, though Maria hadn't left the house that day. And one evening, while Maria was brushing her hair in front of the mirror, she noticed something wrong. Her reflection was smiling at her, but she wasn't smiling. Maria dropped the brush, backing away from the mirror. The reflection tilted its head slowly, lips still curled in that stretched grin. Her scream brought Clara running into the room. But by the time she arrived, the reflection was normal again. "Maria, you're scaring me," Clara said. "Maybe you need rest." But Maria shook her head. No, something's here. Something that looks like me. Clara hugged her, but her hands trembled. One night, Clara woke up to the sound of someone crying. She stepped into the hallway and saw Maria sitting on the floor, hugging her knees, tears rolling down her face. Clara rushed forward. "Maria, what's wrong?" But then she froze. From Maria's room came another sound, the real Maria's voice, humming softly as she slept. Clara turned back to the figure in the hallway. Slowly, Maria lifted her head. Her eyes were hollow, black pits, and her mouth twisted into that horrible smile. Clara gasped and ran back into her room, slamming the door. She pressed her ear to the wood, listening as the thing outside dragged its nails along the door, whispering in Maria's exact voice. "Let me in, sister. Don't shut me out." The whispering went on until morning. The next day, Clara told Maria everything. Maria's face went pale. "It's not just me then. You've seen it too." "What is it?" Clara asked, shaking. "I don't know," Maria whispered, "but it wants to be me." They decided to stay together that night. They locked all the doors, closed every window, and turned on every light in the house. They sat in the living room, side by side, clutching each other's hands. But around midnight, the lights flickered. The television turned on by itself, showing static. From the hallway came footsteps. Both sisters turned. Standing at the end of the hallway was Maria, another Maria. Her eyes were wide and unblinking, her smile sharp and cruel. The real Maria screamed, "Stay away from us!" The doppelganger tilted its head, then stepped forward. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, as if its body didn't belong to it. Clara grabbed Maria's arm. "We have to get out!" But the doppelganger moved faster, rushing toward them with a distorted laugh. The lights burst, plunging the house into darkness. When the neighbors heard the screams and called the police, the house was found in chaos. Furniture overturned, glass shattered. In the living room, only Clara was found, trembling in the corner, her face pale and blank. Maria was gone. When the officers asked Clara what happened, she whispered in a hollow voice, "She took her. She took my sister." The police searched for weeks but never found Maria. Months later, Clara tried to move on, though the house felt empty without her twin. One rainy evening, she caught a glimpse of something in the window. Her heart stopped. Maria was standing there, smiling. Clara rushed outside in the rain, shouting her sister's name, but when she reached the window, the figure was gone. Inside the room, the mirror faced her. And in the mirror, Maria was still there, pressing her hands against the glass, smiling with eyes too dark, too hollow. Clara fell to her knees, sobbing, because she knew her sister was alive, but trapped. And the thing walking in the world wasn't Maria anymore. Evelyn hated staying late at the office. The building was too quiet after dark, the hum of the lights too loud, the echo of her own footsteps unsettling. But deadlines had to be met, and she was the only one left on her floor. As she typed, she caught movement from the corner of her eye. She froze. Through the glass wall of her office, she saw someone walking down the hallway. A woman, same height, same hair, same black suit. Her stomach twisted. It looked exactly like her. Evelyn stood slowly. The figure passed the hallway and turned the corner without looking in. Evelyn hurried to the door, heart pounding, but when she reached the hall, it was empty. The silence pressed down harder than before. The next morning, Evelyn tried to laugh it off as stress. She joked with her co-worker, Mark. "I swear I saw myself in the hall last night." Mark chuckled. "Working too hard. You need sleep." But later that day, another co-worker, Janice, frowned at her. "Evelyn, why didn't you answer me earlier?" "What do you mean?" Evelyn asked. "I called your name in the elevator an hour ago. You looked right at me and didn't respond." Evelyn blinked. "I wasn't in the elevator." Janice stared. Then, "Who was that?" Evelyn forced a smile, but fear gnawed at her. That evening, she stayed late again. Papers piled up, coffee cups empty. At midnight, the office was silent. And then she heard it. Typing, from her own office. But she was sitting in the break room, nowhere near her desk. Evelyn stood slowly, every muscle tense. She crept down the hall, the sound of keys clicking louder and louder. When she peeked through the doorway, her blood ran cold. Her double sat at her desk, typing furiously, face lit by the glow of the screen. The figure looked calm, efficient, like it had been working all night. Evelyn's voice cracked. "Who are you?" The double stopped typing. Slowly, it turned its head and smiled. Evelyn stumbled back. The doppelganger stood and began walking toward her. Its footsteps were silent, its eyes dark and unblinking. "I'm finishing your work," it whispered in Evelyn's exact voice. "You wanted help, didn't you?" Evelyn shook her head violently. "No, stay away from me." But the double stepped closer. its smile widening. "You hate this job. You hate this life. Let me take it. You can rest." Evelyn turned and ran. Her heels clattered against the tiles, her breath ragged. She sprinted into the stairwell, slamming the door behind her. But as she descended, she froze. Below her, in the stairwell's shadows, stood her double, already waiting. Evelyn screamed and bolted upward instead, racing for the rooftop. She burst through the door into the cold night air, lungs burning. The city lights stretched endlessly below. Behind her, the rooftop door creaked open. The doppelganger stepped out. "You can't run," it whispered. Evelyn backed toward the edge of the building. "Stay away from me." The double tilted its head, smiling with cruel patience. "One way or another, you won't leave here tonight." The next morning, Mark arrived early. The office lights flickered to life. He found Evelyn at her desk, dressed neatly, typing away. "Wow," Mark chuckled. "You didn't go home?" Evelyn looked up. She smiled, but her smile was too wide, and her eyes never blinked.